Hello, I'm Gemma and let's talk about some books. Happy 2020 to everyone if you celebrate the changing of the new year. If not, hello, it's January. Let's talk about books because I love books. First book, I'll talk about the audiobooks I listen to first, even though I have them in physical formats as well. I started off the year listening to Madras Field, The Real Brideshead by Jane Mulvagh. This is, not too surprisingly, discussing Madresfield, the house that Evelyn wore and the family that Evelyn wore, based Brideshead set his imaginary Brideshead revisited. It's often thought to be Castle Howard in North Yorkshire, which is pretty much one of my favourite places in the world, but that was actually just where they were filmed because the family, it's still owned by I don't know whether they're technically still Liggins, but they're still the descendants of the Liggin family, who are the main family that the author looks at within this book. They were very private and have not opened to the public in the way that a lot of other houses have. They are open for tours on certain days, but because of that, they wouldn't have Brideshead Revisited filmed there. So Castle Howard did. It has done a lot of good for Castle Howard, both in its publicity, and it helped fund some of the restoration because there was a big fire, and actually the filming of Brideshead Revisited at Castle Howard has paid for a lot of the renovation. Random fact you probably don't want to know. Anyway, back to the book. This is a really enjoyable book. My only criticism of it really was that this is definitely more of an exploration of the Liggin family rather than Madresfield itself. I thought the architectural history side of this was incredibly low, very brief descriptions. It definitely wasn't a strong point of the book, which is a shame because having googled photos of some of the parts of the house, especially the arts and crafts library, which is pretty much my dream room, it's incredible. Google it, please. But most people would probably be bored to death reading the architectural history books that I really like. So I think most people would really enjoy this book. And the audiobook was very nice too. Both the audiobooks that I listened to so far this month have been really good, narrator's good, but also pick up and read it as well. Andy Courcy's The Viceroy's Daughters, The Lives of the Curzon Sisters. I'm a fan of Andy Courcy's history. I think she captures women's lives very, very nicely, and her writing is always easy and enjoyable to read. Although again, I did listen to this a particular time in audiobook because I have listened to it before, but it was when the kids were a little bit younger and I had a little bit less brain capacity because they were very much still in the everything will kill them phase. So this time I re-listened to it, I really enjoyed it. At first I thought maybe there were certain areas where she might have delved a little bit too far into the life of Lord Curzon, who, while very fascinating, wasn't the subject of this book, and I would have preferred knowing a little bit more about the certain aspects of their lives that different ones faded in and out because the other ones were doing something a little bit more interesting, and I still would have liked to have known sort of what was going on. 3 cousin sisters. One was married to Tom Mosley, i.e. Oswald Mosley. You probably know about this, and actually I think this book is very timely at the moment, and pretty much any early war history, probably sadly quite timely at the moment. But anyway, then you have Irene, who was involved with a lot of people but never married, or Irene, I think her mother called her, so I'll stick to Irene. And then Barbara, the youngest daughter, and Barbara does come from the meaning baby, but that stuck with her through her entire life. And she was married to Fruity Metcalfe, the very close friend of the Prince in Wales, who then became very briefly King Edward and Wallis Simpson. So they were very highly involved with people and their lives were absolutely fascinating, and I think because their lives are so interesting, it'd be hard to write a boring book, and Andy Courcy's writing is very good anyway. So I really recommend this. It definitely raised a lot of questions to me about why maybe they succeeded in different ways, and Irene was always rather jealous of Barbara and her relationships, especially with people like Lord Halifax and people who were high up in the cabinet while the war was going on, because she was fascinated by people like those and she was always a bit jealous of how involved her younger sister could. And I think it really opened up questions as why certain people succeed a little bit more than others. Really, really good, really enjoyed that. And I've read other Andy Courcy's before, but the book I am currently reading is another Anne Courcy because I just really enjoyed it, the last one. And this one I am actually reading, as you can probably see by the bookmark, the physical copy, and this is Debs at War, How Wartime Changed Their Lives, 1939 to 1945. I'm only, 60 pages through so far, and it's mainly so far looking at the pre-war, setting up the Debs lives, which is fascinating, but I know it all already, so I'm looking forward to getting more into this at the moment. So then I've been reading fiction, those are the non-fiction that I've either listened to or read so far, and I picked up this yesterday and read it, and that's The Awakening by Kate Chopin, and there's a few other stories, including Silk Stockings, which is probably her next famous one, but this is The Awakening's 4/5 of this book, so the other stories are really, really short. This follows the sort of awakening of an Edwardian woman in America who is starting to realise how trapped she is within the normal standard of marriage and kids, and she starts railing against all of these things like having to be in for calls and having to look after and provide meals, and it's her pushing against this. I really enjoyed it. I thought the ending was really sad that she felt that was the option available to her, and she is a flawed person. She does not treat her children particularly well, but I still think this, some people have said that that's therefore not a feminist book, which I don't agree with. I do still agree that this is a feminist book, and I think it opens a lot of questions, and being written in that era is a really good sort of look at what people were questioning and how people outside of them may have seen their behaviour as well. Really enjoyed that. Very, very quick, very easy read. Excuse me. I don't know too many other Edwardian writers. I don't think it's one I've read too many before, so if you have any recommendations, because I'm absolutely fascinated by that time period, I'd love to know. I don't know whether this one's going to show up particularly well with the light, but that's Julian and Fellows past Imperfect. This is by the Julian Fellows who wrote Gosford Park, Downton Abbey, things like that. So I wasn't really surprised that I enjoyed this. Some old friends who are no longer friends have gotten back in contact with each other because one wants the other one to delve back through their past to find out whether or not there is an illegitimate child that this man might leave his fortune to. And these men and the women that he then goes back to find and to chat to were involved in the sort of Deb scene and socialising at that sort of level in London in the 60s and 70s. While it was really over in a way, but still a lot of the power structures existed and a lot of the same events still existed, and it's looking at how their lives that may have seemed very bright and with really lots available to them going forwards, even though the world is changing, how their lives have played out within the last 40 years. I really enjoyed it. It's not a classic, it's not going to stay with us forever, but a really enjoyable book. I would definitely recommend it, and I will definitely be picking up some more Julian Fellows books because this is the first time I've actually read a book of his. So that's what I've been reading. I will hopefully see you in a video soon. Let me know, have you read these? What are you reading at the moment? Thoughts, comments, everything like that. As always, leave them down below, and I will see you in a video soon. Bye!